Thank you, Chair. Thank you for agreeing to hold this hearing. And while I appreciate your generosity in acknowledging the role our office played in this hearing, I also have to give credit to the countless advocates and activists that have been uplifting the issue of the price of Truvada and PrEP. And I have to say that it's not because of me we're having this hearing, even in our office. It's because of a 23-year-old staffer, Miss Claudia Pagon Marchena, who first dug into, who first noticed this and first listened to the actual activists that raised this issue. She took the opportunity to pursue it, and if it wasn't for the openness and willingness of your leadership and committee staff to take her concerns seriously, we wouldn't be here today. And so I just think it's an incredible testimony to, despite the powerlessness we often feel in this political moment, it shows that everyday people, no matter your age or your identity, can make changes. And that's the reason why we are having this hearing today, so thank you. I'd also, before I begin, would like to submit to the congressional record New York City Council Speaker Corey Johnson, who himself is HIV positive, his testimony to the congressional record. So I seek unanimous consent to do so.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you so much. So let's get down to the core of this hearing. Truvada, Dr. Grant, Truvada for PrEP is the only known drug that can prevent the transmission of HIV, correct?
It's the only medication that's been approved by the FDA. Mm-hmm. It's also known that tenofovir alone is prophylactic for HIV.
Thank you. And Dr. Grant, it was your NIH-funded research on PrEP that built on the earlier research work patented by CDC researchers. Is that correct?
Yes. My clinical trial was informed by CDC research in two ways. One, the CDC demonstrated that the pre-exposure dose was added to the efficacy of PrEP.
Thank you, Dr. Grant. And I would also like to seek unanimous consent to submit this Yale School of Law study into the congressional record, which concludes that the CDC's patents for PrEP were both valid and enforceable against Gilead.
Ordered.
Thank you very much. Dr. Lord, thank you for your advocacy here today. Is it true that the public invested $50 million to develop PrEP?
That is correct.
Is it also true that Gilead relied on publicly funded trials to obtain FDA approval?
Yes, if you look at their supplementary new drug application, you'll see that every sponsor of Truvada as PrEP was a non-Gilead sponsor.
So the public invested to develop the drug. The public invested and funded the trials for FDA approval. Is it true that the pharmaceutical companies forced the public to pay twice, first when investing in drug discovery, but then it looks like these patient assistance programs that they tout very often also have a public investment piece as well, right? How are these public assistance programs funded?
Yeah, so I think as far as like the copay assistance program goes, it's important to also note that it only exists in its current state due to the work of activists. We have worked for years to get them to increase from initially a $300 a month copay assistance, which left people with hundreds, if not $1,000 of copay per month. And then they really only increased it to $4,800 after additional years of activist pressure, and that still left thousands of dollars of donut hole potential for some patients. And then it only took a New York Times op-ed that we published, to threaten Marchand rights on this drug in order to get them to raise it to the $7,200, which is still not enough.
Thank you. And even when it comes to when folks can't access PrEP because it's so expensive and we spread, the HIV epidemic continues, that also comes at a public cost, right? So the public is paying, we paid to develop PrEP, we paid to finance the publicly funded trials to develop this drug. We also pay and foot the bill with patient assistance programs. Also, as you noted, the existence of these programs happened because of the public. And also we pay when the HIV epidemic gets spread as well. Very quickly, Mr. O'Day, you're the CEO of Gilead. Is it true that Gilead made $3 billion in profits from the sales of Truvada in 2018?
$3 billion in revenue.
Oh, yes, in revenue, thank you. And very quickly, the current list price is $2,000 a month in the United States, correct?
The current list price is $1,780 in the United
Okay.
States. And just to correct, the $3 billion was a global figure.
Okay,
For
I see.
for Truvada for PrEP in
So
2000.
so the list price is almost $2,000 in the United States. Why is it $8 in Australia?
Truvada still has patent protection in the United States, and in the rest of the world it is generic. I can't comment on the price in Australia of the generic medicines, but it is generically available in other parts of the world and will be generically available in the United States as of September in 2020, based upon Gilead agreeing to support
Thank
generic
you.
entries 1 year
So
early.
I think it's important that we notice here that we, the public, we, the people, developed this drug, we paid for this drug, we led and developed all of the grounding patents to create PrEP, and then that patent has been privatized, despite the fact that the patent is owned by the public. We refuse to enforce it. There's no reason this should be $2,000 a month. People are dying because of it, and there's no enforceable reason for it. We own the core intellectual property for it, and as a result, people are dying for no reason, to develop this drug. Thank you very much.